Let me show you how to shake your lemonade. And you don't have to jump on anybody's train. Don't you sweat it when they're throwing you the shade. You can make it. Picky up, sip a cup of tea. Yeah, looking down from where you thought you'd never be. The paparazzi flash cashing on the scene. You can make it. Make it what you want. You can make it. You can make it what you make it. Make it what you want. You can make it. You can make it what you can make it. Yeah, open up or else I'm knocking down the door. Gonna make you wonder why you never tried before. You strike a match, start the fire, por favor. You can make it. It might get crazy, but just take it by the horns. Make room for everybody tearing up the floor. Yeah, clap your hands, do the dance, make it yours. You can make it. Make it what you want. You can make it. You can make it what you can make it. Make it what you want. You can make it. You can make it what you can make it. Make it what you want. You can make it. You can make it what you can make it. Make it what you want.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As there's no invocation, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Vice Mayor Richens, would you do the honor?
Sure. All rise. Place your hand over your hearts, and here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Individuals wishing to address the City Council are requested to complete a speaker card and deliver the card to the City Clerk staff prior to the item being heard by the City Council. Please observe a 3-minute time limit for communications, and once called upon to speak, we request that you state your name and city of residence for the record. Looks like this evening there's no proclamations, recognitions, or presentations, so let's move to the meeting minutes. Let's see. Regarding the City Council meeting of January 4th, 2023, Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public on this meeting?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards.
Okay. By using
I already
your buttons,
pushed the button. I'd like to make a motion.
Can I get a motion in a second?
Mayor, we have to do voice votes tonight. Councilmember Speak,
Aye.
Councilmember Steiner,
Yes.
Councilmember Casillas. Aye. Vice Mayor Richens,
Aye.
Mayor Daddario,
Aye.
and that item passes 5-0.
All right. Moving on to consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters. Status reports or documents covering previous City Council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or any person in attendance may request that an item be removed for further consideration. Would any of my colleagues like to pull an item? No?
Yes, Mayor, may I please pull item 7?
Okay. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, we do not have any speaker cards.
Okay. So except for item 7, I will take a motion.
I'll move.
Second?
Councilmember Speak,
Aye.
Councilmember Steiner,
Aye.
Councilmember Casillas.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens,
Aye.
Mayor Daddario,
Aye.
and the item passes 5-0.
Okay. So the item that was pulled was item 7. Councilmember Casillas?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I just want to pull this and highlight the results of our legislative advocacy efforts. This was an item that we had on our list of essentially shovel-ready projects for our state legislators to help us find funding for, and we found funding for it. So Assemblymember Cervantes came through and helped us get the state funds to finish Griffin Park. And so, the proof of the return on our investment of being ready and engaging our state legislators is right here. So,
Absolutely, the importance of being ready as we move into the new season of
Right.
asking for things from our state legislators. And we will be starting that very soon, and we are, again, ready. So thank you for highlighting it. Would you like to make a motion?
yes, I'd like to move to approve item 7.
Second?
Councilmember Speak,
Aye.
Councilmember Steiner,
Aye.
Councilmember Casillas,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Richens,
Aye.
Mayor Daddario,
Aye.
and the item passes 5-0.
Excellent. Moving on to communications from the public. This portion of the agenda is intended for general public comment on items within the council's jurisdiction that are not listed elsewhere on the agenda. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on these items. Please observe a 3-minute time limit for communications, and once called upon to speak, we request that you state your name, city residence for the record. Ms. Edwards, do we have any speaker cards?
Mayor, yes, we have 2 speaker cards.
Good evening, Mr. Fuller. Come on down.
Hi, Don Fuller. I'm a resident in town. Regarding the work that's being done between the 91 and the 71 freeways out there on the west end of town, I have been following that a little bit, and as it turns out, I fairly regularly am southbound on the 71, making the transition to eastbound on the 91, where it goes down and underneath that tunnel where it goes underneath the 91. And I could not determine from what I read in the paper and so forth the extent of what was going to be done there. It didn't seem to me, as far as I could tell, that anything was going to be done from that lane that goes from southbound 71 to eastbound 91. And if anybody who's driven through there in quite a while knows the pavement in there is really deplorable. It's really, really difficult to get a 4-wheel vehicle through there without hitting some bad pothole, some side or the other. I think maybe if I owned a tire, wheel, and wheel alignment shop in town, I'd advertise with big billboards as people are exiting that tunnel to come where to go to get the car fixed up, because it's really difficult to get through there, and it beats up tires, beats up cars. So my request is, and I don't know if this is the proper format, but I don't know any place else to go right now. My request is that some effort be made to see that that area, that big, long curving area from the southbound 71 to the eastbound 91 gets some decent pavement. So I don't know where to go with that. Maybe this is not the right place. Somebody up here is with RCTC. So that's all. I'm just making a request that that pavement gets fixed.
Mr. Mayor, I
That's
can
all.
answer that if you'd like. As part of the 9171 project that's kicking off this week, they'll be taking that piece and it'll become 2 lanes, and it will be all be repaved and all be brand new.
Good. That's great. Glad to hear it. Thank you very much. See, I
you.
didn't need to take up your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Next speaker.
Good evening, council members. My name is Leah Peterson. I represent Southern California Gas Company. And I'm here to speak to you tonight because I think probably all of you have received your natural gas bills for the month of December. And we wanted to be able to address with you that we know that your bills and all of your residents here in Corona and throughout our service territory have within the last month increased anywhere from 3 to 5 times. higher than specifically from what you had last year as your regular January and December billings. One of the things we wanted to make you aware of, Southern California Gas Company is a public utility. We do not make money off of the natural gas itself. It is a commodity that we purchase on the open market. And currently, because of the cold weather conditions that have taken place throughout Washington State, Oregon, those public utilities are also in competition with us, as well as back east, where they've had extreme weather conditions that you have probably all been aware of on the news. Not only that, but we are in competition with our oil and gas suppliers that are utilizing their natural gas resources that they have in their supply to be able to make the maximum for their supplies and their pricing, and we have to pay what the market will bear. So, as I said, we do not make money off of the actual gas costs itself. And that being said, a tremendous amount of people who particularly are low income, your residents who are low income, it's a real challenge for them, and we are completely aware of that. Recently, I sent you and the city information with regards to our customer assistance programs. People can have their natural gas bill, if they're income qualified, lowered by 20%. I also recommend that people look into our level bill program. During the summer months, your bills are much lower, and then that way they can have the same averaged out throughout the year, and it helps with budgeting. For further information, they can contact our 800 number, 1-800-427-2200. Obviously, they can also go to a computer at SoCalGas.com and look under energy resources. We've also donated to our Energy Assistance Fund, who also need additional information. And again, our 800 number is SoCalGas.com, 800-427-2200. So if you have any questions or you need any further information, I would be happy to address those. And I think all of you have my email address, so I can forward you any further information. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Was that only two?
Yes, I have no more speaker cards.
Okay. Let's see, moving on to public hearings, there are none. Administrative reports, request from Vice Mayor Richens to receive an update on the paving requirement for Liberty Avenue in the unincorporated area of Riverside County in conjunction with the Latitude Business Park development located at the northwest corner of Tom Barnes Street and Temescal Canyon Road. Ms. Coletta, will you present the item?
Yes, thank you and good evening. As you indicated, this was a request by Vice Mayor Richens to give the council an update on the Liberty Avenue paving requirement. Just a little bit of refresher for you. The Latitude Business Park is located in the city of Corona. It's at the northwest corner of Tom Barnes and Temescal Canyon Road, and it resides on 75 acres. There were 15 industrial buildings that were approved for the project back in 2020, and the project is currently under construction. And as you can see by this exhibit, the project site does share a boundary with the unincorporated county area, as well as to the east as well. Just a little bit of background for you. The project site was originally part of a parcel map, and that parcel map at that time did cover additional acreage, which included the crossings. At that time, the property was all owned by one entity, so they were processing the subdivision at that time as one group. The City Council in 2002 did approve that map. That parcel map did come back before the city in 2009 to reconfigure some of the lots on the 75 acres that makes up the Latitude Business Park today. And it was at that time that we had discussions with the developer that was processing the revised parcel map to further engage with the County of Riverside to determine what kind of improvements should be done to Liberty Avenue and La Gloria Street. And at that time, county staff indicated that they would be accepting an in lieu fee for any future roadway improvements within that area. The in lieu fee was determined to be the project's fair share towards the street improvements on Liberty and La Gloria Avenue. And the Riverside County Transportation Department determined at that time that the fair share was just over $128,000. The letter to that extent was also provided in your staff report for reference purposes. What it really came down to, the county made that decision based on the fact that Liberty Avenue is a private street. It was also a road that was not currently being maintained by the county. And there was also some commentary as well that due to the topography of the road and also some right-of-way impacts that would occur to the adjacent residents if it were to be made to a county standard road. So at the time, the county was not prepared to address all of that. And you could see here in this exhibit just showing the area of the pavement request, and you're looking east as well as west on Liberty Avenue. Liberty Avenue is a low-volume rural residential road. I just also want to tell the council when it comes to the city determining a project's improvements, the city always looks at the nexus rule. And in this case, what I mean that the nexus needs to be a reasonable and proportionate connection between the required offsite improvement or an in lieu fee that we are going to impose based on the impacts created by the development. And in this particular case, the Latitude Business Park does not take any access from Liberty Avenue, and it will not be generating any additional trips on Liberty Avenue, therefore it will not be increasing the level of service. So just that in itself, you can tell that there is no additional impacts being created to this road as a result of this project. So this project was reviewed at 2 public hearings at the Planning Commission. The city did receive some public comments from the Liberty Avenue residents at that time, and then county staff also attended as well. Just a summary of what county staff had indicated to the Planning Commission at that time. They did indicate that they still need to have continued dialogue with the residents on the future improvement of Liberty Avenue. They also required that the city make the developer dedicate 30 feet of additional right-of-way along Liberty, which this project did do. And the staff also indicated that the $128,000 that was paid to the county back in 2009 would not be enough to make that road a county standard road. Therefore, with that money, they would really need to stretch it to determine what kind of improvements would be possible based on what they already had set aside. So from that meeting, there were 2 conditions of approval that were added to the project. One was prior to the issuance of a precise grading permit, the developer shall work with city staff and county staff on an equitable resolution regarding the paving. And then there was also another condition added regarding the paving of Liberty within that area where the residents are adjacent to the street, that the road should be paved to a width of 24 feet by the developer prior to the issuance of the first C of O. In addition, that plan also needed to be reviewed and approved by the county's Transportation and Land Management Agency. So the initial paving option that the developer was doing when they looked at this was an asphalt paving, also a 24-foot wide road. In that plan, it would have required some additional grading beyond the drivable width of Liberty Avenue, which is about 16 feet wide just in the drivable portion. In going through this engineering process, there were things that they started to discover, one being the Metropolitan Water District pipeline, the lower feeder pipeline, which is in that area. It's about 108 diameter precast concrete pipeline. And MWD did indicate that, they needed, that any compaction to that line can cause some damage that they would be holding full responsibility and liability for. Therefore, when you're doing asphalt paving, there is a compaction process that you have to go to in order to lay that material. And at that time, the developer determined that this was just too much of a liability for them to take on based on what their fair share responsibility was. So that's when they came back to staff and the county and said, we need to look at another alternative because they just weren't willing to take on that liability with that big of a issue hanging out there. The cost for that road improvement at that time was just on the low end, approximately $350,000. So after talking with the county, the double chip seal paving came into consideration. The county has used this on other roads in the county area, especially on low volume roads. So that was an acceptable paving material. The width of that would be 16 feet west of Washington, and then it would vary from 16 to 20 feet east of Washington Street, and that really covers the current drivable width of that road. And this improvement is just over $138,000. So city staff and Riverside County staff has had continued dialogue regarding this requirement. Based on what we have been told from the county, they said that Liberty Road needs to be made public by the county in order for it to be included in their public roadway system, because it's currently not. The county will also need to decide on a roadway standard design for Liberty Avenue. They have not yet done that. And they also need to take into consideration the extent of the improvements and the cost of making Liberty Avenue a public street. Future planning for Liberty Avenue to be a public street will involve additional meetings between county staff and those residents. And they have indicated that the planning for that road design can take up to 1 year. And again, that the county does consider the double chip seal paving an initial step toward the permanent roadway paving. So overall, staff's determination of the condition of approval. The condition of approval does not specify a paving material, nor does it specify that they are to pave this road to a certain standard. So the paving option of the chip seal is acceptable. It does not specifically call for asphalt. The 24-foot wide width was a verbal comment that was made by city staff. However, that was made not knowing all of the other nuances associated with this area of the road. And after the preparation of those engineering plans, it came to light that the 24-foot width was becoming more complicated based on the existing alignment and topography of the road. The construction improvements also exceeded the developer's fair share cost. So overall, at this point, the final paving option that's been proposed seems to be an equitable resolution amongst the developer, city staff, and county staff. So with that, I'll leave that open for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Coletta. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, yes, we have one speaker card for this item.
Zinging right along tonight. Joe Morgan, 2063 Red. So this has been quite an interesting process, right from the initial planning commission meetings. I remember the initial discussions. The first was, well, we don't have to do anything up there. And then everybody kind of realized we did have to do something up there because it does front the project. And, you know, I say basic development law and ethics say that this, you know, something should be done up there to improve the condition adjacent to the development. It's fair, it's reasonable. There's also a fairness and reasonableness component when it comes to Rexco. You know, what's reasonable for them to have to do? To my mind, you know, if it was any other place in the city, any other places that were developing a project like this, they'd be liable to do the planned public improvements on their half of the roadway that abuts the project. That's what they'd normally be liable for. No more than that, no less than that. This has been a pretty tough lift. I've been hearing about it all along between AT&T, MWD, the county, you know, the residents. You know, we've got residents that, you know, at different times have had different interests in what they wanted on the street. I think this is a completely reasonable resolution to this. The streets that lead into this are in the 16 to 20 foot range. Most of them, I think, Washington that comes into there is 18 feet. You know, as long as this is a presentable street that'll drain water and it'll look decent, you know, it'll be cheaper than the full asphalt thing, because he never would have been liable to build a whole street, an entire street on any other project. You know, but if it works and it's reasonable, it's fair, there's some berms to contain it so that it can last for a while till the county gets done with whatever stuff they need to do. I think calling this a private street is not super accurate. It is a dedicated street. My understanding, it just hasn't been accepted. So it is an easement. It is it is for all intents and purposes a public street that's just not maintained by the county. So, there's a property line that's clearly marked out there. So, if it hasn't been a street because it's difficult to build a street up there. So if this is a thing that'll get a street done, then let's get a street done. If it can be done quickly, then we're problem solved. If it can't be done quickly and there's more nonsense, fairness says that write a check, do a bond, do some kind of performance bond, something, and let the project go. It's not fair to hang the whole thing up based on whatever the weather is over at MWD this week, or whatever happens with AT&T. If there's some other nonsense, it's not fair to hang up the C of Os, just like we did with the guy on Orange Heights. Write a check, take a lien, write a bond, do something. There's some way to move this along to get it done. So I hope we can do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Evening.
Hello. So exactly what amount of money is Rexco going to have to put into this? About $10,000? Is that what we're seeing? About 10 grand for Rexco?
We can certainly get you that answer. Did you have any other questions?
Well, yes, there were some things from the very beginning I was in, but it's kind of confusing, like the 128,800 from the county, and it's going to cost 130 something. Doesn't seem like a lot of money for the amount that he's done, really. I know there's been a lot of back and forth, and there's been a lot of that said. I mean, he said to me that he was going to tie it into all the homes. I don't think he's going to do that now, but he did say it. But what you say and what's down on paper are two different things. And I think the drainage needs to be looked at after the fire that was there and the amount of water that went down Washington. It just went over into his project. So maybe they need to have like a little drainage. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But it's kind of sad to see what's happening with him, because I think he's a pretty good developer too. And here we are 3 years later trying to figure out what to do at the last minute. And I think that's kind of the bad part. Because I would love to see the sheriff's department open. They were expecting to open in a couple of weeks. I don't know how that works. But there are some other things that are open, of course, that are, they've got emergency CFOs or something, I don't know. And we need to be good neighbors regardless on who's involved in here. If it's a city, it's a county. If it's county residents, city residents, let's just get along and get this done. Because if we look back, that property was in the county before. And they incorporated it into the city. And let's just get it done. I don't know the issues with Metropolitan, but I've heard different stories. My husband just said, wow, doesn't that water line run under Temescal Canyon? And it's paved, and it didn't have weight limits for a long time. But maybe it's deeper there. I don't understand it, but I think something can be done, and everybody could be happy. I just don't know what it is. And I hope you guys can figure it out. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Everybody knows who I am, I'm sure. I'm Jennifer Hernandez, a Liberty resident. I wanted to let everybody know that we have actually met with one of Pat's contractors. The majority of the residents that could attended this meeting on Monday. The Liberty residents are very excited, and they're very happy with this particular contractor that Pat works with, that works for Pat. I know there are some negotiations in place right now for Liberty Avenue paving. I think that they're ironing out the small details to make sure it happens for the residents. The pole is going to be moved. I got confirmation today that AT&T is actually going to move the pole on Liberty. Those of you who know, there's been a pole that's been a safety issue for my side of Liberty. But I'm hoping that all these details get ironed out, so this issue hopefully will be resolved in between the residents and the city and Rexco and the county. So I just wanted to reach out to you guys today. Some of you guys have received emails from me with documents, Jacob, Tom. I think I've reached out to Jim Steiner as well. But, you know, in regards to the paving of Liberty, we're good people. We need a street. It really sucks that this whole situation, you know, I have called the county, I've called the city. I've spoken to several people in regards to the paving of Liberty, and I know there's a lot in play. I'm sure Coletta knows because she spoke to Thomas Kitchen. So there is a lot at play, but we did meet with a developer on Monday on Liberty, and the residents were very happy with that situation and the communication with the developer. So I just wanted to let you know that that has transpired. I really believe this issue is going to be resolved, and all the fine details are being ironed out right now. And we're all very grateful that Pat had this contractor come out to meet with all the residents too. It was a good resolution, I think, to a big problem. But anyways, I want to thank you all.
Thank you. Was that the last of the speakers, Ms. Edwards?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Vice Mayor Richens, would you like to provide any comments regarding your requested item?
No, well, I don't know what I want, to be honest with you. I do have a couple questions. Can I do questions? Okay. So listening to Jennifer, it sounds like a paving contractor's been secured. Do they know when they're gonna start paving, or is that still up in the air?
Mr. Tritz is here this evening, so he can definitely provide some confirmation to those answers.
Everybody, the paving, as soon as the county lets us go, we're ready to go. We had it all, to the paving equipment actually out there, ready to go when the county stopped us. So all we need is a few days' notice. We notify the residents. We could go within 7 to 10 days once they get county approval to move forward.
Where are you at on county approval?
Not sure. They put a halt to it when we graded and did the drainage and such. To address the drainage that was earlier, we've put a public storm drain in on the Latitude site that accepts the water from that. And even these last ranges, but rained just a little bit last few weeks, I'd say. The site drained, it goes down into the swales into a public storm drain that takes it out to the street. So we've got the drainage in place. It's just a matter of getting the county to allow us to go. And we're working with Tom closely on that. And I think now that we've got this community meeting, and I think the residents are really on board with what we're doing, we can get them to let us go.
Yeah, it sounds like things are heading in the right direction.
And I'll address another thing about the money part of it. We were given $128,000, which was 20-year-old money. Money's not the issue out there. Not with us. It never has been. We've always exceeded what we're supposed to do, and we're going to do it here. We're going to give them the road the best we can. The liability of the pipe and stuff, we've worked on it. There's 2.5 years, almost 3 years of meetings with the county to get to this point. So we just want to get behind us. The project's about done. We want to get it done.
So, Pat, just to play advocate for your side a little bit, I'm hearing that you can't get C of Os until this is done.
Correct. There was a condition put on us, and we've lived with it. The issue we're having with that is we've got 90% of the buildings taken, and when they're all on TCOs, you typically can't get permanent financing. There's some licensing issues with the biggest building out there with their food storage and stuff that, and the sheriff, they're done. We've got a TCO on the sheriff's, but they're not sure how far they're going to move into it until I give them a full C of O. You can't typically get permanent financing on temporary certificate of occupancy that some of them may have already expired.
So are you worried that the county could drag its feet and now all these C of Os are
Well,
held
you
up?
know Rexco well enough. We're going to do something. I'm trying not to go legal. We may have to, or we'll just go up there and pave the damn thing. No, we're really pushing. Joanne and the city's help has been greatly appreciated. I think we've got, and I really do believe we've got the residents, understand what we're going to do. I think the county might just let us go.
Okay, then I'm hearing good things, and I'll turn it back over to you guys. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments from my colleagues?
I got just a quick thank you to staff put this together. It was great to hear that we were where I thought we were back in when this item was requested. And I want to say thank you to Rexco for continuing to work with the residents. I think that there's a lot of lessons learned on this item of how it was done and conditioning this and kind of, the idea of doing things without knowing, what all the parameters were. And so I think that, I think we all learned something on this one. But I'm happy to see and hear that the residents are happy and it's going to get done, more importantly. And I did talk to Supervisor Spiegel's office again today, and they did reiterate that they are excited about, getting this pushed forward to getting it officially brought into the county system sooner than later.
Hey, Mayor, can I make a comment just to build on what Wes said a little bit? It's been argued by me for many years that we had a horrible planning department, and 4+ years ago, we went to a super great planning department. And this whole project took place, and a lot of what the planning department, or planning commission, I meant planning commission, not planning department, sorry. I suck. But I remember watching this whole project go through planning commission, and the whole paving of Liberty was really a collaboration of citizens talking in the meeting. It was Joe talking in the meeting. It was the planning department looking out for ways to improve the city. It was Pat being helpful and realizing that a good project means happy citizens. And so this was supposed to be the home run project where Liberty Avenue was going to be paved and everybody was going to win. And unfortunately, there's just been a lot of drama with it. But I really, and thanks to Wes's comments, think we're back to the home run project.
Councilmember Steiner?
Yeah, I was just going to thank Pat real quick, too. It's not often you get a developer historically that initiate meetings with residents, and because you've done that for the last several years, I think is, another reason that things are going as well as they have actually, and that I think most of the citizens are on board due to your efforts. So thank you, Pat.
Councilmember? No? Okay. The recommendation is that the city council receive the report. So that's it. Legislative matters, there are none. Boards and commissions. Report from the city council commissioners and staff for the, Library and Board of Trustees, there are none. Planning and Housing, there are none. Parks and Rec, there are none. Moving on to the regional meetings. Let's see. Looks like Wes is going to dominate this one again, too. Here we go. All right, so the Southern California Association of Governors, the Transportation Committee meeting of January 5th. Council members speak.
Thank you, Mayor.
Please provide a brief update.
Many pages. Actually, some of these are PowerPoints, and I'm not going to complicate those. So it was my first meeting sitting on the Transportation Committee for SCAG. We talked about really kind of some regional advanced mitigation planning. And frankly, the county, Riverside County, is ahead of the game with having its MSHCP, in fact, one of the earliest ones in the country. Its TUMF program. We had a presentation on the draft broadband digital divide plan, which is basically expedites broadband to speed up, be able to work from home, because that's a transportation thing. Need more people from work from home than not on the freeway. And kind of focused on 3 items: accessibility and affordability, and adoption, getting people to know how to use it and be able to connect, and then getting consensus around how people connect. So that's a big focus for SCAG for the next 2 years. We had a presentation on our integrated transportation plan, and it was an idea that using transportation and bus systems in order to help people become banked. An interesting statistic that came out in the presentation was that 25% of the population in California doesn't have a bank, and they are not able to use a debit card because they don't have a bank. And believe it or not, most transportation systems, with the exception, I think, of RTA now, folks have to have cash. So they either have to have cash, they can't use any of those things. So what happens is they're allowing these systems to use Apple Pay and Cash App and other non-banking cards. And what that's done is it's allowed people that normally haven't used digital currency, this is an avenue for them to use digital currency. So, because people, if they don't use a bank and they're using not using digital currency, they tend to have higher fees and have to have cash. So it's not a great thing. So it's inviting people to kind of come into that. And they notice that once a transportation network takes a Cash App or Apple Pay or some sort of digital bank, that the adoption of those items in those areas go up by 30%. So it helps us a lot of really cool things. One of the things we voted on was the original federal transportation plan, what items would be included around the state, and it was a list of about 200 items. But I was very happy to see number 37, which is continued funding for the gap closure of widening Temescal Canyon from 2 to 4 lanes between Tom Barnes and El Cerrito. So another $46,000, and it's through physical design and environmental, but it's progressing. So it's very happy to continue to see that push forward, because there is a lot of push right now from the state to eliminate projects that add lanes. So this one still being authorized is a good thing. That's it.
Thank you, and looks like you're up again for RCTC on the general meeting, and is it 15 Freeway Ad Hoc Committee?
Yeah, 15 ad hoc.
On January 11th.
There was 7 different items. I'm going to cover the big one I thought that was most interesting, which is on the 91. Right now, the 91 is not dynamically toll or dynamically priced, meaning that the prices set on the 91 are set 3 months ahead of time based on a 12-week average. So when folks see a very high toll, it makes you think that the regular lanes are clogged up. That's not true. It's still not true. But on the 15, they have dynamically priced tolls, meaning how many people that are actually in the toll lanes affect the price. So just a little secret for everybody, and one of the things that the RCTC is going to be doing an education program. I'm trying to make sure I made the statement during our meeting to ensure that the education piece really focuses on that truth in tolling, that people know if you see a high price in the toll, that means the toll lanes are busy. It does not mean the free lanes are busy. The pricing is based on how full the toll lane is. I'll say that again really closely. The higher the rate in the toll lane, it means the busier the toll lane is. So if you see a really high rate, it means the toll lane's not moving and it's trying to force you out. So that's the program they currently have on the 15. And then they're going to be using that same program on the 91. So you're going to see prices change every 3 minutes, or the possibility of pricing every 3 minutes. And what they've seen on the 91, they did kind of some modeling. It actually lowers the prices in several spots, just because it's not based on a 12-week average, it's based on actual use. So I still want to push forward with our truth in tolling idea, because it is still that, just as Councilmember Casillas looked at me, and people misunderstand it. They think the higher the rate is, the busier the general purpose lanes are. So that'll be coming out in the next month or so. As soon as they get the programming, I'm thinking 2 months, and that'll coordinate the toll rates between the 91 and the 15. And that way people will be able to understand a little better, so you're not working on 2 different systems. And however, the Orange County portion will still work on the old system, and we're trying to talk them into changing. So I'm hopefully I can come back and say that. Second thing is updating versus Assembly Bill 2949, which provides free tolls for qualified veterans as of January 1st. And that expands the discount on the 91 express lanes to all disabled veterans. So disabled veterans, if you have a Purple Heart, you have a special tag, it's all based on what your license plate is. So just make sure if you have that, you're registering with RCTC in your toll lanes and any of your toll agencies who you have your card through, and they will provide your discount and you get to go for free. That's it.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more thing. So the second meeting was 15 ad hoc committee. The presentation was to parcel the project. go from either one lane from, right now it's 2 lanes that go from Cajalco to the 74 in both directions. The presentation was to just do 1 lane between Nichols Road and Cajalco. The ad hoc committee voted no, that we did not want to do that, wanted the staff to come back with a different option, either doing the southbound lanes first, doing 2 lanes on the southbound direction first, or some other combination, but did not want to just do 1 lane in each direction, because 2 reasons. One, just to do 1 lane, it was $450 million. To do 2 lanes, $550 million. However, that 575 million, the extra 125 million was deemed to would be really a stretch, because there is no local money and we have no more borrowing capacity. It all have to come from the states or the Fed, and all from loans, or not loans, but from some other funding source. And the likelihood of that being built versus the full project being built is less. However, the ad hoc committee did not like that idea and wanted to see some other options to try and get it built, A, sooner, and B, not to be able to build something and then tear it down again, because we seem to do that a lot and no one likes it. So as soon as I get an update from that committee, I'll come back and provide that, hopefully with some better news.
Thank you. Very interesting piece. You got Councilmember Casillas over here clicking her pen and writing notes furiously on understanding that the higher the toll, the more jammed up the toll lanes are.
Yes.
Yeah, I absolutely, I think I can remember a high toll where I called and yelled at him because it was $20 and it was faster in the free lanes.
Yes.
Which is a great punch in the gut when you see that you paid $20 to sit and everybody else is moving, so.
Yep.
Next one, Councilmember Speak, the Southern California Association of Governments Resilience and Conservation Subcommittee meeting of January 16th, 2023.
This is going to be your favorite presentation of mine.
30 seconds or less?
All time. It was postponed because it was Martin Luther King Day.
Fantastic. All right.
Thank you.
So the next is the regional meeting report from RCA that I attended on January 9th. It was actually a short meeting. We went over the 2023 state and federal legislative platform update. There's a lot of concerns about funding from the state from some of the projects RCA is hoping to complete due to the state proposed budget shortfalls. We did the selection of executive members. I think I mentioned last time, Kevin Bash was installed as from Norco, was installed as the vice chair. And we had a whole presentation on what it would take to amend the MSHCP, which nothing good came out of that. So that is the update for that. The next one is the regional meeting report. There was the update from the Riverside County Mayor's meeting. This is so fun. We have 2 different Riverside County Mayor's meetings, but it's the same mayor. So in fact, we had another one from the Cal Cities organization today, and I recommended that we combine both of them so that we're not having to do all these different meetings. Really, it was just kind of introducing the mayors to one another and looking for ideas for advocacy for the group to consider for the state. In the past, they've taken up some advocacy topics and made a little bit of a difference as an entire organization or as an entire group, so that was good. And it didn't make it onto this, but again, the Cal Cities Mayor's report today, we went over the proposed budget, and what was interesting, and this is the reason I'm kind of talking out of turn on this, is because it talks directly about the money that they are taking away from transportation projects in the proposed budget, which doesn't sound good to anybody hoping for federal dollars to kick in and make up those shortfalls. Nobody's going to be holding their breath for that, though. City Attorney's reports. Mr. Derleth, do you have any comments? Okay. Mr. Ellis?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. City Council member reports. Council member Speak.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple things. One, unfortunately, these 3 bills were reintroduced, or at least they were provided as intent bills. AB 6 by Friedman, and that's to push for no more lanes and prioritize funding for those based on sustainability and climate goals, which means no more lanes. Second, AB 7, also by Ms. Friedman, or Councilmember Friedman. She, let's see, about projects, eliminate single occupancy vehicle freeway projects in total, free or tolls, and allow those for only bus and rapid transit. And reallocate all money to bus, rail, and active transportation projects. That was a fun one. And then SB 4 by Senator Wiener. This bill would allow for by right development of housing projects on any land owned by an independent institution of higher education or religious institution on or before January 2024. That means any church, any school could build whatever they want in housing. So we'll watch that one too. So there'll be some fun stuff for us to watch. There's going to be a meeting on the 24th at 6 p.m. You look on the city's website. That's for the McKinley Grade Separation Project. If you're at all interested, I'll be there with bells on to hear how things are going. And then on the 26th is the Chamber's installation dinner. That's at 6:30. And tomorrow, there's going to be the kickoff for the 7191 project I'm very excited about. There's going to be probably at least 2 closures. I think I got an email today or a message today about additional full freeway closures. And I think we're down to maybe just one more left on the 91 for the either refresh project or 9115 project. They're going to be taking down the false work. And then the 9171 project have, well, at least 2. And that's the same thing, putting up false work, taking false work down. So we're excited to see that project start. It has a 2026 finish. And they're doing the ribbon cutting or opening, the first shovels tomorrow. And then that project starts in earnest the end of next week or beginning of next week. And then last, potholes. Because of all the rain that we've had, potholes are a thing. And I want everybody to realize that yes, there are staff out, we're all driving around, they're seeing things, they're reporting them, but use Say Click Fix. It works. It works really, really well. If you see a pothole, even if one is just starting, they get worse the more time that you leave them. So report them as often and as soon as you do see them. And lastly, I had my first pickup from Recycle from Home, the city-sponsored company that goes around and does the recycling from your house. You can request that they have an app that you can download, and super simple. They sent a welcome package that included stickers and free bags, and you put a sticker on it, and you click a button, and they actually come and pick it up. In fact, Ryan, the little boy in the commercial, actually delivered the bag to my house. And it apparently wasn't just because it was me. There was other folks I heard that did the same thing. So if you do request it, they've been really quick with getting it out there, and the experience was refreshing. I don't have to go wait in a line or truck your stuff down to some place and stick it in a box. So super excited to see that, and I hope lots of people do it. I think we're going to be doing, Mr. Ellis, we're going to be doing some kind of a push to get people to know about it as well. Great, thank you. That's all I had.
What'd you make?
$26.
Wow.
$26 for
How many bags was that?
2.
2 bags.
Yeah.
It's a lot
I
of it.
crush.
Undoubtedly, you're overachieving. Thank you. Councilmember Steiner.
Thank you, Mayor. Last council meeting, I had offered some condolences for Riverside County Sheriff Deputy Isaiah Cordero for the tragic murder that happened to him. And 2 weeks later, doing the same thing for Deputy Calhoun. And, to lose 2 officers in one department like that in 2 weeks is, it's horrible. And, I wonder, how we would feel if this was a Corona police officer 2 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks, a couple weeks later, another one gets murdered. How would we be feeling? What would our stances or aggressiveness on addressing it change at all? And I know in our legislative platform, we have, we're going to support policies and legislation that supports law enforcement. But I wonder if, there may be a future discussion to maybe being a little bit more aggressive with that to sponsor legislation. to support our officers. This is right in our backyard, you guys. This could have easily been 2 Corona officers over the last 2 weeks. And I think just by supporting legislations put on by others is not necessarily enough. And the 5 of us agreed that we support our officers, support law enforcement. We're going to try to keep bad guys in jail. And I think we might be able to be more aggressive. So those are my comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Casillas?
Well said, Jim. Nothing for me, Mayor.
Okay. Vice Mayor Richens?
I mimic everything Jim said and leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to provide some comments. In my previous 2 years, I've really enjoyed doing some town halls. And this year as mayor, I'm excited to, year 2, I opened it up to obviously any resident that wanted to come down, not just District 2, but I'm going to be starting my quarterly town halls again. I'm just confirming some dates and some locations. I'll be doing those, and I've been giving this some thought. I'm really excited that I'm gonna start kind of a new a platform for resident engagement. It's going to be more pop-up style at coffee shops and parks, just on Sunday morning for conversations, and I'm still working that out and how to notify folks. So some more information on that to come. And I do have to share in the sentiment from Councilmember Steiner. In fact, today, one of the things is, Mayor, you have to sign a bunch of things and proclamations and awards and certificates and that type of stuff. And today, it was a little difficult because I closed the January 4th meeting in honor of Deputy Cordero. And I did not know this, but when you do that, you end up with a recognition that ends up on the mayor's desk that they end up sending to the family. It ends up at the family with the RSO deputy. And it was a little hard to do today, especially because I'm going to close this meeting in honor of Deputy Darnell Calhoun, end of watch, January 13th, 2023. And our next meeting will be the Committee of the Whole and City Council on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023.